People, Kevin Bobick here. For those who don't know, there was an exploration recently led by a pastor named Will Duffy to try to discredit flat earth, aka biblical cosmology. They supposedly went to Antarctica to film a 24-hour sun that somehow was never filmed properly without suspicious edits. Yes, a mysticism practicing, hermeticism promoting, Bible denying heretic of a pastor that says this.
So please, I beg you, we have to stop claiming that the 10 Commandments prohibit lying. That's not true. The 10 Commandments prohibit bearing false witness against your neighbor. Okay. We finally get to my conclusion on the matter of lying and deception, and that is this. After carefully looking at both sides of the debate, and after taking a very deep dive into everything I could possibly find in Scripture regarding lying and deception, I have come to the conclusion that neither lying nor deception are inherently immoral.
This deceitful pastor must have not made it to Psalms 101:7 that states, "He that worketh deceit shall not dwell within my house. He that telleth lies shall not tarry in my sight." Or he must have not have made it to Revelations 21:8 that states, "But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death." Or he must have not have read Proverbs 12:22 that states, "Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight." So, in light of this movement, it's been my honor to edit this video for you. Enjoy.
Most people have no awareness of how easily our behavior and even our identity can be completely taken over. But people are waking up. I spent 20 years in the U.S. military. I'm a behavior expert. I've trained psyops. I'm the best-selling author in behavioral psychology. I want to show you exactly how to identify what we call engineered reality, or what some people call psyops. At the end of this, I'm going to give you a tool that's literally going to give you a score out of 100 that shows you how likely something is to be a psyop. Let's do this. So the first thing you need to know is following the FATE model: focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. This is what triggers the mammalian part of our brain that makes all of our real decisions. The first part is focus. Psyops always aim to hijack your attention with repetition. So with this, pause and ask, why is this message being pushed so aggressively?
They consistently pushed this narrative over the past few months because they understood the importance of a first impression. If someone's first impression of flat earth or biblical cosmology is this final experiment, then of course they are going to disregard it and not take the time to properly and thoroughly research it. It only takes 7 seconds to form a first impression. This movement has been gaining so much momentum that they are willing to do whatever it takes to try to slow it down. Let alone whoever orchestrated this must have also known the psychology behind a lasting impression.
Cognitively speaking, what we say at CIA is your last impression is the impression that lasts.
The second part here is authority. Trusted figures might shift their tone or positions unnaturally to support the narrative.
We'll now turn it over to the flat earthers. So obviously you all know Jaron Campanella of Jaronism, one of the most popular flat earth YouTube channels.
Not for long. All right, guys. Sometimes you are wrong in life. And I thought that there was no 24-hour sun. In fact, I was pretty sure of it. Kept saying it was true. I kept saying it wasn't. It's a fact. The sun does circle you in the south. That the sun does exactly what these guys said as far as circles the southern continent. So I honestly believe there was no 24-hour sun. I honestly now believe there is.
They're holding guns on the other side of this camera. This is all stage. This is all stage. I mean, I was one of the people that said I definitely didn't think that there was a 24-hour sun. We were wrong. It is doing what they said it would do. Truth doesn't fear investigation. Truth doesn't fear investigation.
So watch very closely for expert panelists or endorsements where authority figures might speak outside of their expertise. Pay close attention to that one. Then we have tribe. So messages that polarize opinions or create stark in-groups versus out-groups or exploit our tribal instincts. For example, labeling groups as patriots versus traitors or scientific versus deniers. Be very careful when you hear that language. Finally, we have emotion. So be wary of any communication that triggers strong emotions like fear, hope, or outrage without any clear, verifiable evidence. So emotional responses suppress critical thinking.
At the same time, but from a stationary standpoint in relation to other stationary standpoints, parallax should still show up.
Okay, first of all, it does. Like if I pull my footage back up right now, as I turn it around, the relative positioning of the items absolutely changes. Have you interacted with the video? I'll share it. Secondly, it is obviously different if the camera's physically moving around. And dude, this is the thing, bro. You can just come and interact with it. And I don't understand. It's kind of annoying. But here, we'll just show it.
Emotional responses suppress critical thinking. So as a tip here, analyze the evidence that's presented to you. If facts are replaced by appeals to emotion, you need to be very, very cautious.
So if I keep the sun still, that means the camera is rotating and the earth is moving. It's the same thing. So don't let them bamboozle you. So it's the same as if I'm using a camera, a single lens camera, or I'm using a 360 camera and I rotate the footage to keep the sun center. It's the same thing. It's the same for both. So here's the point. If there is a South Pole with a 24-hour sun, then there must be extreme parallax shift. We don't see that in their footage because the Earth is not rotating, and if the Earth's not rotating, there cannot be a South Pole. So they're lying to you. So don't think they went there and oh, it was a sunny day, that they were lucky. No, because it'd be hard to fake that. So let's look at the footage. Right. So the claim here is that it's a 360 camera. The camera must be turning because the Earth is turning. And I can see the camera's moving because the Earth is turning. If I've got a rotating platform, I put a spirit level and I put a cup. The cup must have a left-hand side and a right-hand side. So if the Earth is turning, what would my camera see? So remember, even if you're using a 360 camera, I just, in my NLE, isolate the sun and keep the sun standing still. Well, the spirit level can't bend around me. The spirit level must turn, rotate like this. You'll see one side of the spirit level, then you'll see the other side of the spirit level. You see one side of the robot, then you see the other side of the robot. The same with the spirit level in the cup. You must see the left side and the right side because it must rotate, because the Earth is supposed to be rotating. Right, so we're looking at parallax shift. So let's put it into perspective. Remember, the camera, if I'm rotating the camera or I'm rotating the footage, it's the same thing. Things are in their relative position and distances from the center of the camera. So you must see parallax shift, and things can't bend around you. Right, as we see in the footage. Things will move at different speeds. And the table can't bend. Mountains can't bend around you. They must keep their same. North and south and east and west must be the same. So you see this bending? It's because they're using a psych.
Next, question novelty. Our brains are wired to focus on sudden or unusual changes because they signal potential threats or opportunities. And this is an evolutionary survival mechanism. Psyops exploit this by creating events that break normal expectations.
You really want to believe that YouTube shills went to Antarctica and got a 24-hour sun on video when there's no government agency that has ever recorded a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, and there's government bases down there for over 100 years, some of them? You really want to believe that YouTube shills got a 24-hour sun recorded in 2024 as flat Earth is exploding, and there's no 24-hour sun videos from any university or any scientist or any astrophysicist? There's a few random ones starting, I think, around the year 2017, but no 24-hour sun videos from 2010 or 2005 or the 1990s. There's no other 24-hour sun videos in Antarctica, but we're supposed to believe that YouTube shills got a video of a 24-hour sun in Antarctica in 2024. That defies all reason, all logic, all common sense.
So ask yourself, why is this new? So consider if the event or somebody's message has been artificially manufactured or timed. Look for patterns like sudden shifts in public opinion, trending hashtags that are unusual, or viral videos that seem very coincidental. The timing shifts public focus. All of this is part of the NCI system I developed for teaching tradecraft and extreme psychological operations. And there's even a gigantic textbook for all of this stuff in the description. Definitely not for everybody, but it's definitely the most comprehensive guide in the world on this stuff. So next item, look for multiple sources. Centralized narratives create an echo chamber, and they silence dissent and they narrow perspectives. For example, if all media outlets present identical talking points, it is a humongous red flag. So actively seek out contrarian or independent voices, even if they challenge something that's already in your head. So in reality, an example, all the major news outlets report on the exact same study, but independent researchers revealed the study was funded by a company selling the solution. So watch for that group speak. Next is identify cognitive dissonance weapons. Let's talk about how this works. So cognitive dissonance comes up when new information clashes with our identity or our beliefs. So psyops exploit the hell out of this by including micro-agreements. Micro-agreements are little, small, seemingly harmless concessions to shape your identity. And over time, you're going to unconsciously align your behavior to reduce that internal conflict. And as a weaponization example of this, a psyop might present you as a part of moral or intelligent enlightenment, like only good citizens do XYZ. If you disagree with that, you risk some identity conflict there. So reflect on your identity and ask, am I being nudged to identify with some other group?
You can Google or YouTube the final experiment, and it's easy to tell you are being fed one side of the story. Remember, once you decide on a subject, it can take a long time and a lot of information to rethink it. It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. Mark Twain.
So be very careful of any campaigns that are asking for seemingly minor commitments. As an example of this, let's say a company launches an ad campaign and they claim real patriots buy local. If you disagree with their product, it feels like rejecting your identity as a patriot. So this pushes you to conform. Be very, very skeptical about those identity statements. Next is looking for those emotional scripts. And what I mean by this is the scripts that were written in our brains by our ancestors. So manipulated narratives trigger instincts.
Round, lad, round, lad, round, lad, round. Columbo, the world she's flat. The world she's around. She's flat. Look, King, she's round like the apple. She's flat like the pancake. Posta fazoon. She's round, she's firm, she's fully packed. She's round like my head. She's flat like your head. Biscuit tortone. Yeah. What's up, dogs? I'm a disgust. Nobody believes that the world she's around. Yeah, she looks around to me, Doc.
Oh, boys, come here.
Queen Isabella.
If you can prove the world is round, Chris, I'll give you my jewels.
Of tribal rejection. These are threats of being socially outcast, like you're selfish if you don't comply. And those things override logic every time. And as a tip for this, break the script by focusing on the facts. Like, what's the likelihood of this scenario? So compare the claims with other sources.
If the 24-hour sun existed in Antarctica, then it would be reasonable to assume that north-facing shadows should be found with some images taken during the Antarctic summer. Come to find out, the vast majority, if not all of Google Earth's images of Antarctica were taken during its summer. That is great news for shadow research. It will depend on the time of day the footage was taken. But if we look over all of Antarctica and find no north-facing shadows, then that is some strong evidence for no 24-hour sun. Remember that what we call satellites operate at all times of the day. A certain percentage of shadows must be facing north. Then if a 24-hour sun actually existed, let's find out. Pay attention to the compass in the upper right corner and the imagery date below.